yeah, you know we need them. We do. We need those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I'm pretty ready.
Yeah, you pretty ready?
I'm pretty ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be.
I'm pretty ready too. Hey folks, hope you're pretty ready. Ready for this edition of Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome in. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Leon McMillan. And this is Strategies for Living. You know, it just chaps me, Lauren. It just chaps me.
Yes?
Yeah, it chaps me.
What?
Well, the fact that, you know, some people have some ideas about therapy that actually might even stop them or other people that they may share these with from going to therapy.
Getting the help they could
Getting the help
need.
that they could need. And, you know, one of the things that we do here on Strategies for Living is we pass along important information, you know, about being healthy, living healthy, body, mind, spirit, and emotion and relationship, right?
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, I mean, here, let me admit this. Views about therapy have actually come a long way.
Absolutely, they have.
They really have come a long way. Even in over the 30 years that I practiced, I went into practice in 1991, stopped in 2020. Over that period, there were a lot of positive changes.
Yeah.
But still, there are some myths out there.
Yes. There's
some myths out there about how therapy works, whether it's actually even helpful. Those still hang around. And the problem with these misconceptions is that they can prevent people from getting some important help that they may need to get.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we could call them myths, couldn't we? Yeah.
We're busting myths today.
So we're gonna bust some myths today about therapy, about psychotherapy, and you know, hopefully throw some light. You know, look at some common myths out there and the accompanying facts. That's on taps today.
Sounds good.
Here on Strategies for Living. What do you think?
That sounds great. It's always important.
Absolutely. I think so. Folks, thank you for joining us here on Strategies. And our wonderful sponsors make this all possible. Who are they? Well, let me tell you. They are the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX and Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
And Hempress Cannabis with Love and the Shreveport Little Theater. We are busting myths about psychotherapy today, right here on Strategies for Living. Come back and bust some with us.
Who are you going to call?
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
Hey, welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, and we are myth busting today here on Strategies for a Living because, you know, we've come a long way, but there are still some myths out there about therapy, and sometimes those may stop people from getting the help, the support that they need. So we're going to try to clear some of those up today, kind of talk about the myths, and we're gonna lay over the facts and just the facts, ma'am. You know, just the facts. I grew up with Joe Friday and Dragnet, so just the facts, ma'am. Okay, so one of the myths that's out there is that, you know, therapy is only for really serious. You got to have a really serious problem.
Something's got to be real wrong with you, buddy.
To go to, you got to be really seriously messed up to go to therapy. So therapy is oftentimes seen as, and it's a myth, but it's seen as, okay, that's the last resort. You know, that's the nuclear option, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, I would wonder how much of that is a result of our die-hard independent society. You know, the whole idea, I can do it on my own. Pull myself up by my bootstraps.
We were kind of talking about that in a way yesterday with the strength thing, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And sometimes, you know, it's like it's a paradox because to be strong, sometimes you have to be weak.
And there are some things that can only be healed in relationship.
Yeah.
A lot of things, right? I mean, we're social creatures.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, when we have serious problems and, you know, or we're in a big crisis, or we just have what we might refer to as a breakdown, right?
Right, yes.
And so, that's what people think. That's the myth, that's when you go to therapy. But the reality is, and I want to talk about this, you know, at some length here, because the reality is that therapy can help people with a variety of needs. And we'll even talk about this. Sometimes you can find a lot of growth when you go to therapy and you don't really have a whole lot to necessarily on the plate to discuss. You just let whatever comes out come out. We'll talk about that. But, you know, here's the deal. Therapy can help people with a variety of needs. The American Psychiatric Association says that psychotherapy can help with, of course, the mental health, the mental health conditions that we all know about, right?
Yes.
Depression, anxiety disorders. Certainly, therapy can be helpful for that. Also, don't discount therapy when there's been a major loss in life.
No.
You know? So dealing with grief is, you know, maybe you've lost a loved one. Maybe...
I mean, even big changes in life.
Big changes in life.
Can and do elicit the grief process.
Maybe you've been diagnosed with some major illness.
Yeah.
All of those are legitimate things that grieving is going to, you know, is probably going to kick in. And managing the feelings of grief, therapy can really be helpful in that management process.
Another one of the key things that I think the American Counseling Association puts forth as a mission is actually prevention.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think we, especially
healthy.
Especially the general public, I think dismisses or maybe isn't aware of this. But that's a huge half of our training is in, you know, yes, in healing and in helping to move out, but also in prevention. Absolutely.
You know, another major thing that we all deal with from time to time, unfortunately, you can't live life and not have some kind of trauma. We can have big T trauma and little t trauma. The big T traumas are the ones that, you know, like the death of a loved one or being in a major accident or being the victim of some
kind of abuse,
abuse or crime or anything like that. That's big T trauma.
Right.
But we all endure little T trauma, also. So again, coping with the different types of trauma can be one of those big things that people seek therapy for.
And trauma, can be described as just anything in life that you're not prepared to handle at the magnitude that it's coming at you. Right?
Right, absolutely. And psychotherapy can also help you in, and you're touching on this, in building a more meaningful and fulfilling life, because therapy is a good place to look at your professional and personal goals. I think all of us can use tune-ups from time to time, communicating.
Absolutely.
Gaining a deeper understanding of yourself. That's a place therapy can shine. We talk about this a lot, Lauren, here on Strategies. The primary relationship each one of us have, the sponsoring relationship, if you will, is the relationship we each have with ourselves.
That's right.
Also cultivating relationships, stronger, more connected relationships. That could be significant others. That could be husbands, wives. It could also be strengthening your relationships with family members, maybe your kids. That's a hard process as development kicks
huge.
in.
And I mean, it's a constantly changing and evolving entity, the relationship, whether it be with a spouse or especially with kids, you see that, but spouses too.
Absolutely.
Because we both, those involved are ever changing.
Managing stress is a place that therapy can be very helpful.
Yep.
Because stress is part of life. If I'm living, I've got stress on board. The only organism that's not stressed, we call that dead.
That's right.
So if you're living, you have stress. And so therefore, we all, from time to time need help in managing that stress. And then also, you and I were talking this morning with a client about being healthy,
yes, living
healthier, and developing healthier habits,
mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, yep. you were coming from the psychotherapist mode. I was kind of coming from the coaching mode. We were kind of doing a tag team, if you will.
Sometimes it requires that.
Sometimes you got to do that. Okay, so that's myth number one. Myth number two. Oh, you got something else?
I was just going to say, so basically therapy is for any and everyone, in my opinion. I'm a little biased.
I'm biased too.
And problems, it's for anything that you want to get better. If you want to meet yourself or others in a healthier, more whole way.
Therapy can help.
Yeah.
Okay, another myth is that, not many people go. Not many people go to therapy. And this is kind of a persistent one.
And it would be a hard one to tease out because of the confidentiality.
Well, true. And there's another reason I think that it's been so persistent, and that is not everybody's comfortable telling others that they're going to therapy, and that's okay.
Yep.
The stigma around therapy is lessening.
Big time.
But seeing a therapist is still perceived by a certain number of people differently than, let's say, going to a fitness trainer or seeing a dietitian or going to physical therapy or going to see a life coach or going to an acupuncturist, right?
Yeah, which in my opinion is quite a shame.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And we often can't wait to tell somebody that we've hired a professional to help us, let's say, with our health.
Right, with the physical fitness. I'm going to PT.
Yeah, I'm going to PT, or I've found an acupuncturist, right?
Right.
And we can't wait to tell people
Got
that.
a new fitness coach, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what therapists are in a lot of ways. We're fitness coaches.
Good point.
Mind, body, and spirit.
And we tell people that, and we get the high fives, right? And the approving words. And we kind of think differently when it comes to therapy. And we're kind of shining a light on that, or trying to shine a light on that this evening. What are we doing there? Because there's a lot of people that attend therapy now. according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, in a national survey, 9.5%, so you round that up, it's 10%, worked with a counselor, a therapist, in 2019.
Wow.
And so I would imagine, that's been 5 years ago, so it's gone up from there.
That was pre-COVID.
That's pre-COVID. So yeah, well, I don't know, because we had the place where everything went virtual. So I have no idea where those stats are, but I feel certain that it's increased from 9.5%.
Well, and just to think about the number of great professionals we have in the area.
Absolutely.
And how busy they are.
And since COVID, the online options.
All the online options, all the apps that are available to you.
So I think the number has probably significantly increased. Mm-hmm. And, we're talking about myths today, myths of that people have about going to therapy. What's the difference? What's the difference between you're a psychotherapist? Mm-hmm. I used to be.
Yep.
I'm a life coach.
Right.
What's the difference?
What is the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference? Well, I tell you,
the biggest is the licensing board.
The biggest is holding a license so that you're accepting insurance and you're diagnosing and all like that. Mm-hmm. But other than that, counseling, the profession of counseling actually started helping people and focused on helping people with normal, everyday adjustment issues. Mm-hmm. Now, that's shifted and changed a bit. Oh, yeah,
with the big medical model coming through.
Right. However, the heart and soul of counseling and life coaching, and you touched on this a second ago.
Social work,
are really the same thing.
Yeah.
That's really very, very similar stuff. We're talking, we're myth-busting today. Myth-busting today here on Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We got more busting to do. Lauren's got her hammer out today.
If I had a hammer, man.
Busting those myths right and left. We've got more to bust here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. How many times do I say there is no place like Robinson Film Center?
You don't say it enough.
Well, no, I probably don't. And there is no place like the Robinson Film Center. I mean, where do you go to see current movies that you're not going to see anyplace else? Well, Robinson Film Center. Find out what's showing at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And then you've got Abby Singer's Bistro, right? Full service bistro and bar, second floor of the Robinson.
That's what I can't get enough of.
Oh, man. So, here's what you want to do. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, psychotherapist Lauren Leon McMillan, and David McMillan. We're here on Strategies for Living, and we're busting up some myths today. Busting up some myths about therapy. Unfortunately, there are myths out there that abound.
Sure. And
some of those myths actually stop people from getting important help that they need. We've talked about, it's a myth that therapy is only for really serious problems. That's a myth. It's a myth that not many people go to therapy. More and more people are.
Absolutely.
It is a myth that all therapy is the same.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a good one.
It's a good one, and it's a big one.
Yeah,
Let me tell you
huge.
something. It is not uncommon if you talk to people, you know, and especially people have gone to therapy, and maybe it didn't click. It didn't click for them, whatever.
Yep.
And it doesn't, however you want to say it, it didn't suit their needs.
Right.
And they make an assumption.
Well, it's just not for me.
What they assume is this doesn't work. This is not effective. Well, there's a few things to consider here.
Yep.
First of all, going to therapy is a big decision.
Yes.
And
it's a courageous one.
And it's a courageous decision. And so when it doesn't work, yes, it can be frustrating. And it can be hard to try again. But here's the thing. There are many different types of therapy.
All kinds.
And there are many different
therapists
and that they're people. And people have different personalities.
Right.
People have different strengths.
And that's the heart and soul of any good psychotherapy. It's rooted and healing blooms from the relationship that you develop, between therapist and client.
In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Lauren. I have no statistics to back me up, okay?
Okay.
But I'm going to say, I'm just kind of taking I'm rolling my chair back and I'm looking back at 30 years.
Right,
of dealing with all kinds of folks. And when I stopped in 2020, I was seeing a lot of people a week.
Yes, you were.
I'd start at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would go till noon. I would start up again and to take a quick break to eat something for lunch, start again at 1 o'clock and go to 6.
Right.
And then come do a radio show.
Right.
So
I remember.
I didn't realize that I was burnt to a crisp, but I was, I truly was. So, you multiply that by a lot of years doing it. And
you saw a few people.
I saw a few people. So when I look backwards, I'm going to say, and I think about all the people that I saw, the successful outcomes, the outcomes, and the not so successful outcomes, right?
Right.
The common denominator on all of those successful outcomes was a positive relationship between the client and the counselor. In this case, I'm talking about me.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to say 80% or maybe even 85% of the potential success of any therapeutic relationship is, in my opinion, in the relationship, the trust, the safety.
Yes.
The
unconditional positive regard.
Absolutely. The willingness that once that safety is established, that the client is able to really be intimate. And what I mean by intimate is into me see.
Right.
They're able to drop the walls that they might have in the majority of other relationships that they're in.
Yeah.
Right.
And only then can you truly look in.
Right.
To who you are.
And those clients, when I look backwards and I think of those clients, those are the clients that were most energetic, or even you could say passionate about the therapeutic relationship. And they would go out and tell 3 or 4 other people, and that's how, I guess, over the years I got busy.
Right.
And that's a lot of therapists. It's not just me. A lot of therapists. That happens in a lot of therapists. But my point is that, it's in the relationship. So if it doesn't work, it may not be you.
No.
It may be, and it may not even be the therapist.
No.
It may be
and
just
any decent therapist, if they can see that the relationship is not there and not on
Right.
steady ground, will verbalize that to you.
and even help
help you find someone
Absolutely.
who will fit
Absolutely.
and who will help you to develop that relationship, because it's a necessary point. It's a necessary jumping off point from anything for healing of any sort.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of different types of therapy
Right.
on top of that. There's
Right.
a lot of the therapy that's practiced that
Nowadays is mostly CBT.
right,
I'd
which
say.
is cognitive behavioral therapy, which focuses on changing unhelpful negative thinking, identifying and changing
That's the
negative thoughts.
cognitive part.
Right.
Thoughts and behaviors.
And that thinking leads to unproductive, or however you want to say it, behavior. That's the B part.
Unwanted or
Right. So that might be what's amplifying your anxiety or your depression. So that's but there's many.
And that works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for everybody.
No, and there's many different types of therapy, and that's why it's important for you to be willing. If to, like any relationship, you're not going to just accept the first person that comes into your life and say, okay, well,
marry me.
yeah.
Right.
No, you're going to be discerning.
Right.
And so in any important relationship, you're going to be discerning. We need to be that in therapeutic relationships too. So don't be shy in very early on. If there's not a connect, put that on the table.
Yeah, give it a session or two.
Yep.
And communicate that. I mean, to your therapist.
Yep.
Definitely, because that's where you get started.
Therapy is most effective. Is most effective when you are working with a therapist who is a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Period. End of the story. Okay, another myth
Okay.
is that, well, you know what all therapy is? It is just a very, very expensive venting session. That's what therapy is. All right, that's a myth.
Yes.
That's a
yes,
myth.
it is. Big
Because
time.
therapy,
It can be. I mean, if that's what you
well,
want it to be.
yeah, and
But that's not what it's intended
No,
to
it's
be.
not intended to be that and to do that at all. Therapy does typically involve quite a bit of talking.
Yeah.
So it's easy to see that some people could dismiss it as, well, it's just, I'm
Just getting things off
I'm
my
just
chest.
indulging myself, or it's kind of like laying it on with a friend, right? But here's the difference. Your therapist is not your friend or your loved one.
Right.
When you are with a therapist,
We're trained to listen, yes.
and they give undivided attention,
yes.
right?
And we're trained for feedback
Absolutely.
and questions.
Specifically trained to listen to your concerns and pick up on the patterns, particularly the patterns that are not helpful or even unhealthy patterns that they may see that you don't see. We all have blind spots.
Yep.
And also, therapists aren't typically going to use a biased lens to view your situation.
No, not anyone worth their salt.
And if they do, if they realize that they've got some biases there, if they're healthy, if it's a good and healthy therapist, they're going to say, okay, well, I think I'm a little biased here.
Yeah, and I'm
going to need to tell you that.
Yeah. Right.
And put that on the table. I mean, we're human.
Right.
And so we all have our
biases.
biases. But the other thing a therapist is going to do is a good therapist is going to support you in making healthy change. And they're doing that using science-based techniques, techniques that have been proven
and helping
to work.
And I would say in helping you to develop better coping skills and better ways of living.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add to this myth, and I think it goes kind of with this, and it's that people often think you go to therapy for advice.
Yeah.
And that's one big myth that I often have to bust in the initial and then remind people of.
Yeah, I've been here the whole session and you didn't even give me any advice.
You're not going to tell me what to do?
You hadn't told me what to do yet. Well,
No.
not supposed to.
No, I'm not. No.
Yeah.
Because for a couple reasons. One, of course, liability, right? If I tell you what to do, you go do it and it gets you in trouble, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the obvious reason. But the deeper real reason why is because I don't know as a therapist, I only have my reference points from my experiences.
Right.
You as the client are the expert on your life and your experience, and you know what's best for you.
Absolutely.
My job is to help hold up the mirror and get you to go inward and help you to find that.
The American Psychological Association, the APA, says that approximately 3/4 of people who go to therapy are helped by therapy. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good batting average. And they note further that about 80% of the people who tried some type of therapy feel better after therapy ends than people who never attend therapy.
Yeah, because I think that's even more frequent than not, is that you don't even realize what it is you've stirred up and brought to the surface until much later.
Absolutely. We are busting myths today here on Strategies for Living. We're busting myths about psychotherapy, and only the major issues go, and not so many people go, and it's all the same, and it's just about venting. Those are the ones we've gotten to so far. We've got more. We've got more here today on Strategies for a Living. So don't go away. Don't go away. Stay with us. Be right back. You know, it's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You know, you need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, psychotherapist Lauren Leon McMillan, PLPC, and David McMillan. And we're busting myths today. There are some myths out there about going to therapy, and we're just trying to bust through some of them today. We've talked about some important ones so far. Another myth is, if people find out, they're going to think poorly of me. If I go to therapy, that's just, they're just going to think poorly of me. And so that keeps people from, really trying it because they're concerned about others, what others might think of them. And I think it's natural to care about what others people's perception are of us, but it's not always helpful.
No.
And so
most and all is not.
Here's what may be reassuring. It may be reassuring to know that most people will be supportive. The majority of people,
those who are worth,
are going to be supportive of
your
you.
Life.
There's some research that's found that students don't think less of someone for attending therapy. You know, a lot of research is done, psychological research is done on college campuses.
Yes.
And the reason is because it's so easy to find.
All available.
Yeah, they're all available to you.
And we'll do things for food, let me tell you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Also remember, you don't have to tell anybody. And the therapist can't tell anybody.
Right.
They're bound by confidentiality.
Yep.
So they're not going to they can't tell anybody, and you don't have to tell anybody. You're not obligated to tell anybody that you're seeing a therapist. So if someone does find out and has a negative reaction, keep in mind that's about them.
That tells you way more about them.
That tells you way more about them than it does about you. This is for you. It's your decision. And, period. End of the story. It's your choice. It's your decision. Yeah. Another myth is that the confidentiality thing. Well, they say it's confidential, but how can it be? Some people worry about that. So they worry that their therapy sessions won't remain confidential. And it's an important concern because therapy works best when you're totally opening up to your therapist,
right,
and you're sharing, your innermost thoughts and feelings. Let me just share something real quick here.
Okay.
Again, I practiced for a lot of years. I saw a lot of different people. Recently, socially, I've seen an individual that came in and really benefited from therapy.
Right.
And I've seen this individual out in a social setting. The individual, has never said anything to me.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
And so I've never said anything to this individual.
Right.
And I've seen this individual.
Part of the confidentiality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even though I'm no longer practicing therapy, I was bound and am still bound by confidentiality, even though, I've stopped 4 years now, right?
Right.
But, I will honor that confidentiality. Now if the person reaches out to me,
right,
then certainly, I'm going to acknowledge that person. I'm going to ask, how that person's doing. But, I can only, I don't know. I don't, because the person hasn't said anything to me. I have no idea. But I'm going to honor, the confidentiality.
Yeah.
Until
because it was the grounds of initiating a relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes I think that's important that you said that, because I think sometimes people don't even realize that confidentiality means that as well. It doesn't mean that we're being rude in public, right? When we see you and don't say hello. But if it's actually honoring the agreement.
Right. So don't think your therapist is stuck up. Go ahead and speak to them, and they will likely speak back to you. But if you don't speak to them and you've only seen them, you only know them from a therapy setting, chances are they're not gonna say anything to you. Or they may nod.
Right.
They may nod to you. This is a totally different person, but years ago, there's a person that I saw and I ran into at the movies, and we passed by each other, we locked eyes, he nodded, I nodded. If I figured, well, if he wanted to say something, he would, but there was a nod. And that's all that there was an acknowledgement,
right?
But because the person was with somebody else I didn't recognize. Okay, well, that's cool. I'm totally cool with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, there you go. Now, there are exceptions. There are exceptions to the rule of confidentiality, and that is there may be a time that the authorities have to be contacted. If somebody's considering harming themselves or harming somebody else, a therapist has a duty to warn.
Right.
So just realize that going in. Another myth, Lauren, is if I go into therapy, I'm going to be there forever.
I hope not.
Once therapy starts, people may, just kind of make an assumption, well, I got to do this for years, or I got to do this for decades.
Well, and I think that's based on the old original Freud psychoanalytic.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the great news. The great news is that the majority of therapy doesn't last all that long. It lasts as long as it needs to last.
And it
for
lasts,
you.
well, and it really lasts as long as you, the client, deem it necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, the treatment types and the length vary based on a number of different factors, such as your own needs, your underlying conditions, that type of thing. But the APA, the American Psychological Association, says about 50% of people going to therapy improve after between 15 and 20 sessions. So there you go.
Yeah.
If you've improved and you've got things going 15 to 20 sessions in and you say, hey, I'm ready to take a break, I would be willing to bet your therapist is going to say, great, let's do it.
Yep.
Call me if you need me.
Right.
Let me know.
I always tell people I'm in the job to put myself out of the job.
There you go.
I mean,
it's one of those only jobs that, really success is when, hey, I don't need you anymore.
Right.
You're fired. And you and your therapist determine that together when to discontinue therapy. But again, the goal of therapy is to help you get better, not to
help you be able to find your own answers
right.
on your own.
There you go. That's one of the things therapy is big time about, not just checking off a certain number of sessions, but determining, okay, for this situation and for you, this is good. We're good. We're busting myths today. Myths that exist and can exist and have existed surrounding therapy. Lots of them. And we'll be back. We'll be back here on Strategies for Living. So don't go away. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. Man, the time passes so fast,
Doesn't it?
1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. Lauren, Leon, McMillan, David McMillan. God, it just seems like we always have more to cover than we have time to cover it, right?
Right.
Okay, so here the bottom line is, the reality is that therapy can be very, very helpful for anybody, whether you're experiencing anxiety or wanting to strengthen your marriage or relationship, or you're just wanting to strengthen your relationship with you. You want to accept yourself more.
Yeah. And it comes in so many very different forms. I want to bust one quick one here at the end. I think everyone knows this, but just in case, because we all have that whole old idea of the Freudian therapy where you lie on the couch, right?
Yeah.
And, there's a very impersonal therapy. Therapist behind the couch, right?
Yep.
And that's just not it anymore.
No.
I mean, if you want that, that can certainly be arranged, but
most
in general,
therapy's
it's
not done that way.
No, it's very relational. The therapist, first and foremost, brings him or herself into the therapy room.
Absolutely.
And, you can lie on the couch if you want. I've had people do that. But, if you just want to sit or hang out.
In the 30 years, I probably had two people do the I want to lie on the couch thing.
I've had one.
I actually had in my office, and we have it here at home now.
The Chase Lounge.
The quintessential
the Freudian
therapy chair. And so some people, I think, just want, hey, I want to, I want to sit in that. I want to get in that.
Right.
And so, okay, well, that's why it's there. Have a little fun with it, So hopefully we have busted some myths and given some facts about psychotherapy today, because the bottom line is it's healthy and can be helpful. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
And hey, you want to talk to Lauren?
Yeah.
She is a provisional licensed professional counselor. Call her at 318-227-9002. She's available.
Come hang out in the office.
There you go. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We have been presented by the Robinson Film Center, by Azalea Cleaners, by Learning RX, by Pintail Roofing, by Hempress Cannabis with Love, and by the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For our Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.